Carmen, you may begin now.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for the Up Close and Personal session at today's Hispanic Federation Education Summit. Today, we will be discussing amplifying Latino student and parent voices from across the nation. My name is Carmen Diaz-Malvido. I am the Chief Executive Officer at ASPIRA of New York. It is a great privilege to be here with you today and with our panelists. I will introduce them. Today we have Charlene Huaman, Kevin Jaigua, Marisol Tapia, and Doralis Florentino, who will join us in having a conversation in terms of how they are, their experiences so far and perspective in challenges that are being faced during the pandemic and racial inequities being discussed in our national discourse this currently. We'll also be speaking about the crucial needs that students and parents have right now in terms of navigating these different changes. How are they tapping into resources such as mental health, resources available through their schools, their communities, and within their environment? We'll be highlighting the importance of training educators in trauma-informed care and how that can also assist our students as they are navigating going to school with a hybrid model, remote model, or in-person learning. And I think ultimately as a collective, we would like to see what are policymakers, educators not hearing enough, and how can they also begin to address these current needs? And what happens now to ensure that we have a better education and a better future for our Latino community? Just to give you a brief background, ASPIRA of New York has a 59-year legacy of supporting the social advancement of Latino youth through education and leadership development. All these topics, the issues that we're discussing today in terms of amplifying student voice and family voice, are also issues and concerns that we're contending with within our organization. And we're, working with our families in the South Bronx, in Brooklyn, and West Harlem in terms of addressing. But now I'm going to begin to turn the microphone over to our students and our parents and give our panelists about a minute and a half to introduce themselves and to share with us a little bit how the pandemic is affecting them or has affected them, and how are they attending classes? Are they in person, hybrid, remote? And if they can just share a little bit about themselves. So I will start first with Charlene Huang.
Good evening. My name is Charlene Huang. I am from Danbury High School. I'm a sophomore. And what we're doing now is distance learning. And we're all just learning from the computer and from meetings. And by next week, we're going to start the hybrid learning. School has been difficult because it seems like I haven't been learning anything. And teachers keep putting in a lot of work for students. And I'm kind of worried that by the time I get back to school, I wouldn't have learned anything and I would fail.
Carmen, it looks like you're muted.
Pardon me. New technology and getting used to everything. Next, I'd like to introduce Kevin Jaigua.
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Jaigua. I'm 16 years old and I also go to Danbury High School. So like Charlene said, right now we're doing online, but we'll be going to school for like 2 days next week. And the pandemic has definitely changed a lot of things for me. I used to do a lot of after school activities and a lot of them got closed because of the pandemic. There's only like one open right now. I'm part of youth and government, and I've been learning a lot of like things and new tricks to help like ourselves during the pandemic as well as others.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. And next, I will move to Doralis Florentino.
Hi, thank you, Carmen. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Doralis Florentino. I currently live in Connecticut in the town of Danbury. I am a mom of 3 children that currently I have 2 in school right now. One is in 8th grade. He goes to Rogers Park, and I have a 4th grader that goes to Park Avenue. I am a stay-at-home mom that I also work from home. I'm proud to be a parent leadership graduate from 2020. And for us, it's been a little bit difficult because, my husband works and I have to stay home and take care of them. And then, like my fellow panelists said, the teachers, they have so much overwhelmed work. And then I have to have the kids in the class from like 8 o'clock in the morning to maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon doing work. So it's hard to navigate that. And I feel like they're not learning as much interaction with the teacher. So it's hard for us right now. So the pandemic has hit us really hard for me and for my fellow families that I also know that are going through it right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Doralis. And we'll get into some of these topics a little bit more as we move on with today's conversation. We have another panelist, Marisol Tapia, who is having a little difficulty logging on. So I'm not sure, Marisol, if you are. If not, we will add her to the conversation as she's able to join us. So we will get started with a couple of questions to our panelists. And just really, I think to begin the conversation, really we're going to look at how are we creating new routines? How are we beginning to find some type of stability or some type of normal process to move in as we're dealing with the pandemic, but also knowing that school is in session and we still have to make sure that our young people are educated and getting the resources that they need. So Sharleen, I'll start with you. How are you building some sense of comfort during these times to continue your studies?
Time management is comforting me through these times because with the amount of work we're given daily, I have to do it all at once. No, not all at once, but do it slowly and at my own time so I could really try to understand it and get through it all.
How are you feeling about your classes and your overall academic development? I know in your introduction, you spoke about having some concerns about not really getting the material and learning the material that you feel is needed for you to continue building on your education. How does that make you feel?
I get that teachers, they really are trying their best during these times, but I'm upset. I'm upset that it's hard for us to learn and hard for all of us to really focus on our schoolwork.
Okay. Are there any recommendations, Charlene, that you think, are there things that we should be thinking about as adults that want to be supportive, as educators that want to be supportive of young people? Is there anything that you're seeing or beginning to think about or with your peers that would be good for us to hear?
They need to know that we're also human beings and we all have our own time to progress all this information they're putting into us. So we all have our own time. So maybe less of the assignments and more learning. Or if a student didn't learn that much, they could record a video of the lesson beforehand so we could catch up on that and analyze it.
Okay. So great. So definitely leaning in more on technology and maybe just, being cognizant that there are different learning styles and different processes that young people have. So I think that that's a good note for us. Um, Another piece that is definitely critical is the peer-to-peer interaction, that socialization piece that many of our young people are expressing and voicing that is needed, right? And how do we create a mechanism or portal where our young people are socializing in a safe way, especially as we're going through the pandemic. So, Kevin, in regards to this, what is supporting you to socialize with your peers at this time?
So for me personally, something that's supporting me to like socialize and reach out to my peers is the fact that we all need to collaborate, and we're all going through this hard times. The pandemic hit us hard, and we had to work together and stick together. And sometimes we need advice from somebody else. And so the way that I communicate with my friends, family, and my peers and students is through social media and FaceTiming or like through a phone or message. And when there's a chance to meet up with them personally, I do meet up with family, but like we follow the safety guidelines for COVID. And it's important to reach out to people because it can bring positive things to you in your day, depending on how it is. And so reaching out to them is bringing you answers that sometimes you need, and sometimes you need your friends to help you with things that you need.
Definitely. I think that goes for young people and adults alike, all of us, right? Just going back to what Charlene stated before, we are all humans, and there is that human link and dynamic that's necessary for all of us. How do you think, Kevin, teachers can support you and your peers more to interact more with one another?
So for example, for me right now, we're doing online classes, as most of us are, and most of the time the teacher is talking and teaching, and that's basically the whole time, and then the class ends. Something that they can do is add breakout rooms or for us to socialize more, because like we normally would, we would go to school, socialize with our friends, have groups, but because of these times, we're just staring at a computer the whole day, and then we have homework. And so something that they could do is definitely like make time for groups and people to socialize with one another.
Okay, that's a great suggestion. So, I mean, I think we're all grappling with whether or not, we will have virtual learning for the remainder of the academic year, or for some, as some of the students at Danbury High School, you'll begin a hybrid model starting, next week or whatnot. If we continue moving forward with virtual learning for the remainder of the academic year, what needs to be done for students to not miss on engaging with one another, or even, getting the educational content and material that is needed?
I would like to see a lot of more learning tools available to make it like mirror or make it similar to what it would be us in person. Usually in the classroom, we would have a lot of more options to do. And I would also like to see more virtual mentorship by the teachers and the staff that coordinate schools. Also, like I mentioned before, there should be a period of time where we are allowed to communicate with our friends, socialize, interact with each other. And there should also be a better way to communicate with our teachers. And I know that teachers are also going through this. All of us, it's new for all of us. And so they're trying their best, but if there's a better way to help each other, that would be great.
Great, thank you. And I think that's a critical piece. I think as we're having these conversations, we also recognize that it's not just students or parents that are being impacted, right? We're all in this together, and this is something that that is new, and we're all trying to figure out how to make it work best for everyone involved. And we have Marisol. Hi, Marisol. Marisol Tapia, thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to give you an opportunity to just introduce yourself to us, and then I would love to go into some questions just in terms of college and career planning with you. So, Marisol, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome?
Thank you. So my name is Marisol Tapia. I go to Henry Apatak Technical High School. I'm 13 and I'm from Danbury, Connecticut.
Great. Thank you so much. So how has the pandemic affected your future career and college and career plans, Marisol?
Well, it hasn't affected me personally since I'm a freshman, but for seniors who are going to graduate this year, it's probably very, very hard for them. I did a program named Achievers, and last year, even though I was in 8th grade, I still would go on these college campuses and we'd go around visiting them. For example, we did a lot of colleges here in Connecticut, like UConn. We did Harvard up in Massachusetts, and we got to go to the colleges in person and talk to the people there and how their experiences was and their majors. But people now, since with the pandemic, it might be hard for them since most colleges aren't allowing them to go in person, and it's not the same.
So how are you engaging with the college and career readiness support? So you mentioned you were part of a program last year. Are those programs still in existence? Are you still receiving support, even if you're not able to visit college campuses?
Yes, so we are all still attending these, even though we're not allowed to go to the place. We all still do Google Meets and talk about what colleges we can email asking if they're okay if we can do in person. For example, me and Kevin and Sharleen, we are all in Achievers, and last year we enjoyed doing it. We're trying to do it again this year, trying to go back to how it was last year.
Okay. What do you think can be done for you and your peers just during this time, whether it's for your peers that are seniors this year in terms of getting resources and being ready for college or any future career, especially during this time? Is there anything that we can work towards or support young people as you navigate this process?
Well, free tuition, since a lot of colleges are doing online, and the tuition it's been the same even if it's online and they're staying at home. And a lot of people aren't able to afford the colleges since, for example, my parents, they're currently not working, so it may be hard for others.
Okay. Thank you. Definitely thank you. Those are definitely things that I think even during a normal year, things that we contend with, but I think it's even highlighted more right now during this pandemic time. Thank you so much, Marisol, for sharing. Now I'd like to shift our conversation a little bit to get a bit of a parent perspective and how are parents navigating during these times. And, I know that many of our young people, our students, are feeling a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, and the parents equally so, right? Trying to navigate the various systems, the new systems that are in place, making sure that they're on top of information. And sometimes that information doesn't flow as naturally as we would hope it does. So, Doralis, Florentino, thank you for joining us. How has the beginning of the pandemic affected you versus where we are now as a parent?
Thank you, Carmen. Well, in the beginning, I was confused because people kept on saying that it was going to go away, that it was just going to be for like 14 days. And as a mother and head of the family, I was scared not just for our well-being, but for our finances as well. Not working for 2 weeks meant not a check for 2 weeks. And bills and rent were not waiting for you. So it was also a struggle not knowing what was going to happen to my kids' education. School closed for like 2 weeks and eventually went to remote learning. That was a term that me and my family weren't like used to it. Especially when we were more confused, like what proper equipment did I need? Do I have the space for them to study from home? Then we got word that the community and the schools were going to provide proper equipment, such as computers, but the procedure was not that clear for us. There was not enough direction, not enough support. There were families that also faced more struggles, such as needing to get food from food pantries and hotspots for the internet for kids to study at home. Other families that I know also had to deal with issues such as babysitting, care sitting, having to choose between going to work, leaving their kids at home, or risking their lives getting exposed to COVID-19. And right now, we are, of course, past the 2 weeks time frame from that the government proposed. But I believe that we have gotten used to the new routine and things are a little clearer. But still, even though my family we've been blessed, there are other parents that I know that are still struggling right now to help them navigate through the proper navigation, with the system in these hard times that we're going through right now.
Definitely, Doralis. I think, that you're echoing much of what we're also seeing with our families in ASPIRA. I mean, even before the pandemic, there were real, financial and social economic issues that they were contending with. And I think, you've echoed clearly that communication, that stream of communication. And I mean, while we were all grappling and continue to grapple with sharing that information, I think a lot of that is missed with our multi-language learning families, our families that are not English dominant or may not have been plugged into the class dojos or the technology that has been in place. And so these are issues that we continue to contend with. I do agree that much of the feedback that we are getting is that folks, because it's been several months now, over 6 months that we're, trying to navigate this process, are beginning to feel that they have a better handle, not a full handle, but a better handle in terms of what the expectations are. And also, I think getting to a point where not that they're comfortable, but they know that all the answers are not available immediately. And so there is a little bit more leeway in terms of seeing how the communication of information is getting to them. But I think there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of nervousness and confusion, as you said, that our parents are also feeding off of. And so tell us more about the challenging parts of virtual learning for you.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute myself. It's like a new thing now. Sorry. So the challenging part of virtual learning as a parent has been able to support my kids in every aspect with the limits that our household faces. We had to rearrange our small living room to have the kids separated in like each corner. And I don't have the proper furniture like desks, chairs, whiteboards. I have them actually on one of those tables where you eat and have like those chairs that you go to the park with. Those are the furniture for them. Thankfully, we do have the internet, but we do not have different computers or printers at home. And as a parent, one of the things that I am blessed and thankful for is that I work from home. So I'm able to track my children with their time for each class. But like I said, I have 3, and sometimes it's too much for me to deal with, to be honest. I also struggle with helping them with their classwork and homework because the teacher sometimes is also overwhelmed and doesn't have the time or the attention to answer the questions from every kid. It is also hard to keep them focused when all of them can hear each other in the background, navigating the Google Classroom, turning the classwork in on time, or, you have to turn in the classwork at 2:00 and, it's hard. It's just different times to turn in work. And navigating the Google Classroom has also been difficult because it's new to me. My kids are not new to it, but I'm new to it. And some parents, like you said, Carmen, don't have, don't only speak that one language, that is Spanish. So of course it's going to be hard for them. Everything is in English. And sometimes I have to do my job at the same time as them, and I can't help them when they need me. So it's difficult trying to, navigate the time. Like my fellow panelist says, the teachers give work, but they don't have like a breakout when maybe they can do like their breakout room and, let's do work on the breakout room, and all the kids that need help, we can have them there. So it is a challenge to struggle with both of them. And, I have fellow parents that don't speak that good of English, and, it's hard for them because Google Classroom only comes in English. I don't think it comes in Spanish. So that's where the hard stuff comes in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Doralis, there's a lot of juggling, right? And like you've prioritized even making physical changes to your home in order to create that learning space. And I think, many parents are doing that. And I think, there are some of our parents that are just not there or may not have the flexibility to really adapt and tailor a learning space for young people. Do you think a lot of the parents that you're in contact with or have interaction with do they share your sentiments? Are they also struggling with juggling and juggling multiple classrooms?
Yeah, they're having trouble. I have a couple of parents that are having trouble. Some parents, they can't just stay home and be with their kids. They work. I have a parent that, she works at a place for 12 hours and she has to take him with him, work at 5 o'clock in the morning to, comes home until 8 o'clock at night. And then sometimes she'll call me on FaceTime and be like, I don't understand this. Can you explain it to me? I'm like, sure, no problem. So I feel like it's like, not a lot of direction for the parents that actually need it. They do have Google meetings and stuff. They show them, they had a Google Meet the other day, but they have for the Spanish speaking subtitles. It's hard to read the subtitles and look to see what you're doing at the same time. So I feel like they should, be a little bit more extra for us, for the Hispanic community. That's what I feel. They should do a little bit more help.
Okay. For Sharleen, Kevin, and Marisol, I'm interested in finding out how involved have your parents, have they helped you navigate this? Is that something that they're comfortable doing, or have you had to navigate through just the changing of in-person to hybrid or remote learning on your own? And I guess I'll go to Sharleen first. We'll follow that order, or if any of you want to jump in.
So my mom, it's more been like a half and half, like we've been working as a team. So she's there, she helps me, she reminds me of certain things, and I have to do most of them by myself, but she's there if I need it.
Okay. Excellent. Kevin.
For me, it's about the same thing. Both of my parents, they don't really speak English a lot. They can understand, but they're not able to speak well enough. And so when it first started, everything started, they tried to help, but it wasn't enough. They didn't really understand how to do things. And so it was on my own, basically, to learn everything. And once I got the hang of it, it became easier. And so they're there when I need help, and they're always willing to help and learn more things. But definitely, I agree on having more programs and more help for parents, because I know there's a lot of people that they want to help, but they can't find the help. So it's necessary.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Marisol?
When it all first started, it was very, very stressful. I come from a family of 6. And my mom tries to focus on the younger ones, since us as older ones think we're more experienced, but she's right at one point, but also it's a little difficult because we also need it. We're also a little confused. Teachers and the directions aren't as clear as they think their directions are, and it's been stressful, but we're getting there.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know, we talk about resiliency all the time in terms of like disasters or emergency relief, but this global pandemic really has shown the resiliency of our young people, of our students, just really having to tailor. I know on, the adult side, everyone is scrambling and putting the systems in place, but the reality is that you guys are the ones that are living through the actual learning experience and having to navigate with us, whether we're doing the things, correctly, or we're failing and, trying to pivot and remedy things. Doralis, coming back to you, how do you think schools can improve communicating with Latinx parents, with those parents who are only, who might have different language needs? How do we improve that?
So educators, principals, and community leaders have been doing their best at communicating with families in times like these. But unfortunately, our parent community can be so diverse and so different that even their best communication effort is still not enough. Why? Because sometimes the communication in just one language, and some parents are better proficient in other languages, such as Spanish and Portuguese. And if the parent cannot understand what is going on, how are they going to be able to help their kids? Another thing that I have noticed is that the new technology and equipment that is necessary for the kids to study is an equipment and programs that parents are not familiar with. So they're unable to help their children to connect and turn in their work on time. Schools should offer training to help parents understand the required programs and technology that sometimes we do not have access to. Also, I understand that during these times, educators and leaders are also learning to navigate, but sometimes they're not clear with what they want from us or able to support us and communicate with us on time. So we need to come up with a system that works for both ends. Thank you. You're muted, Carmen.
Apologies for that. I said thank you so much for that. We're also getting a lot of questions on the chat, just in terms of some of the comments that you're bringing up. And one of them really is standing out as we continue this conversation is, in what ways can social service programs support the Latinx parents, and any insight into what the Hispanic Federation may be offering? I think that piece, we'll hopefully cover a little bit later. But, in terms of what you just finished saying, in providing additional support and figuring out ways to really improve those communication mechanisms. Some of the other things that have been coming up, and that I'll open up to the entire panel, is in terms of mental health support. What do you feel has been offered for both young people and for parents? What have you received any support? Is that something that you feel is a need during this time?
I feel like I haven't received the support. My son has a lot of anxiety, like I do as well. So I haven't got any support. I don't know if my panelists have gotten support, but as a parent, I haven't received any support. I feel like I understand the teachers are overwhelmed. I understand everything is different and everything like that, but maybe reaching out to us and saying, hey, let's do a Zoom meeting, or how are you doing? Do you need some guidance? Does your son need guidance? My son is in 8th grade. He's about to graduate. I have no guidance of what school he's going to go to. What is the process? I feel like I'm in the air. I don't know what's going on. I feel some of my students here, the panelists here, don't know what they're doing. They feel overwhelmed, anxiety, depression. So it's hard. There's no phone call like, hi, let's do a meeting. Let's sit down and have a Zoom call and see what's going on. How are you feeling? Is the classes okay? I don't feel like they're reaching out to us, especially to the Hispanic people that don't speak English. They don't receive that. So if I'm not receiving it, how are they not? You know what I mean? Like, they need more help because they really don't understand what's going on. So I feel like as a parent, I try to reach out to a couple of people that I know and, talk to them and say, it's going to be okay. But I'm not a professional. I'm just a parent. You know what I mean? So it's hard. I would wish that they would bring out their arm and say, we're going to help. Let's help each other.
And I think, Doralis, I don't cut yourself short on that. As parents, I think you definitely have a lot of expertise, and you are a professional in the care of your children, and your voice is equally important. What about for any of the students? Do you think there's a need? Are you getting any mental health support? Okay, we're shaking heads no. So one of the last questions, because I think our time is coming to an end, and I would like to get to some of the questions in the chat, is what are we not hearing enough of from parents and students that educators must know to support your needs? So we've addressed a couple of things, definitely the culturally sensitive and language sensitive communication is a key piece to this. What else, or what would you like for us to help voice? How can we support the students to get their voice heard at, let's say, Board of Education or with some of the educational higher ups? This is one of the questions that was also on the chat. Anyone is open to take this. How do we elevate our voices, and how do we make sure that all your voices, whether you're a high school student or a parent, are being heard?
So there's a lot of ways for us to do that, but it always starts from doing something and putting it in action for them to hear you, because you might need help on something and you're not doing well enough. But if you stay quiet and you're just trying to figure it out by yourself, you're never going to find a solution for that. So it definitely starts by asking for help, even if nobody's offering anything, and reaching out to the people that have the ability to help you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So I am going to look over now and share some of the questions that have been coming through the chat, and some of them I've been able to already bring up. Let me see. So we